Hello and welcome everyone to this CIVITAS Eccentric webinar on how to set up an intergenerational project to promote sustainable mobility. I'm so glad that you've tuned in today. I know that for many of you, the summer holidays are almost already starting, but I think we have a really interesting webinar for you today with some great experience from the Eccentric project, which is an EU sustainable mobility project that has been running for the last 4 years. It's almost concluding, and I think we have some great experiences to share, especially today focusing on intergenerational activities and sustainable urban mobility. My name is Paula Land. I work for ICLE Local Governments for Sustainability, and that's the organization in charge of organizing these webinars and also doing some other things related to replication in the Eccentric project. But that will not be the focus today. I will give a more detailed overview of the agenda. But before I do that, I would like to just quickly give you an introduction into, oh, I have a helicopter flying outside. I hope it's not too loud, but I hope you can still hear me well. I will just give you a quick introduction into how GoToWebinar works so that we can make the most out of the webinar today. As you can see here, you should see this control panel in your screen as well. And you have different options to interact with me throughout the webinar. So you are muted right now, the audience is muted. But if you want to say something and ask a question in person, that is possible by raising your hand on this raise hand button that you can see here. And if you feel shy and don't want to ask a question in person, which is totally okay, of course, you can also just type your question into the question pane here. And to get us started with having an interactive webinar, the first thing I would like everyone to do is to type in a question, but specifically just type in where you are calling in from. Type in your country or maybe your city. If you want, you can also type in how many degrees it's outside. I am sitting in sunny Freiburg, which has about 30 degrees today, so it's really hot. So yeah, just give it a shot and type in where are you calling in from and what's the temperature outside. I am not getting any questions yet, so don't be shy. Yes, here we go. We have a response from Lea, who is our speaker. She's saying she's calling in from Munich, and it's also a nice and sunny 30 degrees. We also have someone calling in from Heidelberg. And we have someone from Auckland, New Zealand, with 5 degrees. I get that. It's not summer over there. That makes perfect sense. Great. Thanks so much. Just keep the questions coming. Oh, nice. We have someone from Sweden calling in the north, only 17 cold degrees. Someone from Turin, welcome. Thanks, everyone. That's great. Good to know where the audience is from, and thanks for testing as well the question function. As I've mentioned before, there will be plenty of time to ask questions to our two speakers, so don't be shy and just make use of that option. Oh, we also have someone from Parma in Italy, 32 degrees and going up. I think that's the record for today, so I hope you're keeping cool and inside. Thanks everyone for answering the questions. I would also like to let you know that this webinar is being recorded. We do this so we can put it on the website afterwards, and other people who did not have the chance to enjoy the webinar today because they're already at the beach can watch it afterwards. Just to let you know that also if you ask a question in person, of course your voice will also be on the recording. You will also receive the recording once the webinar has ended. So jumping into the lineup for today, I want to introduce our speakers and our program. So first of all, we have Lea Wiser, who is a project manager for education at the organization Green City in Munich. I'm very happy to have her here. She will be speaking about the project related to Munich. And then we also have Pilar Castro, who is the head of environmental education unit of the Madrid City Council. And then we have me, I'm Paula Land, as I said, Office of Sustainable Economy and Procurement at ICLE. The agenda for today is we already started with our opening and welcome. I will give a brief introduction to Eccentric as well. And then we jump right in with Lea giving an introduction to the transfer measure on being mobile and staying mobile. Afterwards, we'll have time for 1 or 2 questions to Lea. And then we will hear from Pilar about peer-to-peer activities for youth and elderly promoting sustainable mobility and autonomy. And then finally, there will be more time for questions to both of our speakers. And then at 1 o'clock, we are all ready and we'll go off to have our lunch. So just a brief overview to the CIVITAS Eccentric project, which is the framework in which we're doing the webinar today. It's quite a large project. I already mentioned it's been running for 4 years already. There's 5 cities involved in the project, and they all have 5 living labs. Well, each city has a living lab. And in these living labs, the cities demonstrate the potential and replicability of integrated and inclusive urban planning approaches, innovative policies, and emerging technologies. The cities that are involved in Eccentric are Madrid, Stockholm, Munich, Turku in Finland, and Rusa in Bulgaria. And those cities demonstrate and test innovative, sustainable mobility in peripheral areas. And they do this by combining new policies, technologies, and soft measures. And the soft measures are partially what we're going to be focusing on today. The project has 2 important focus areas that maybe other sustainable urban mobility projects or initiatives tend to neglect, which is on the one hand, the innovative solutions for sustainable mobility of people in suburban city districts, so not focusing on the center so much, but more the suburbs and the periphery. And then it also focuses on emission-free logistic in urban centers that keep the balance between quality public space and efficient local economy. So it also has a focus on logistics and freight, which is not the focus of today's webinar, but there will be another webinar coming up specifically on logistic and freight. So if you're interested in that, please also stay tuned and look out for upcoming webinars. So I already said those are 5 cities. There's a lot happening in Eccentric. We have a total of 50 measures that are focusing on 6 different thematic areas, all related to sustainable urban mobility in peripheral areas. The first thematic area is inclusive urban planning. Second is mobility as a service. Then the third is safe walking and cycling. We have clean public transport, clean vehicles, and then, as I already mentioned, clean freight and logistics. Today, we will focus on the first, which is inclusive urban planning. Oops, there we go. I want to show everything. So inclusive urban planning in Eccentric focuses on mobility management that promotes sustainable transport and reduces the demand for car use by changing the attitudes and behavior of car and motor vehicle users. So this part of the project focuses on soft measures such as information, communication, participation, organization of services, and coordination of the activities. Those are a lot of big words, but I'm so glad that today we will have the chance to hear about what this could look like in practice from our 2 great speakers. They're here with us, and I think it's time to give it a start. So I will hand the mic to Lea to introduce Munich's project on this topic. Lea, you should now be able to share your screen.
Is it working?
No. Yes, now it's working. Perfect. Yeah, we can see your presentation.
Okay, 1 moment. Okay, yeah, hello everyone. My name is Lea Wiser from Green City in Munich, and maybe just a few quick words about Green City. We are an environmental NGO based in Munich. And yeah, we have been working for 30 years now with around 25 employees. And yeah, we have some main topics: climate protection, mobility, urban greening, and education. And I'm working in the Department of Education, and our aim is to provide education for all ages, all backgrounds. And yeah, we do projects in schools, but we also do open workshops and seminars outside of school. And yeah, topics can be sustainable food, energy, mobility, zero waste, or participation in creating green spaces. But before I would like to start, we have prepared a survey. Paula, could you show the survey to everyone, please? Because it's maybe interesting what background you have.
Here we go. Everyone should now be able to answer the survey. So we'd like to know, what is your background? Are you part of Eccentric? Do you work for the municipality, city, or an administration? Are you maybe a school teacher? Do you work with schools, or do you work with the elderly? And you have the option to choose multiple answers. Cool, I can see some answers coming in. Roughly half of the audience has voted. No, we're jumping up. 60% have voted. Let's wait for the last 40% to also vote. Of course, if you don't find yourself represented in these answers, I can understand that you will not be voting. It might be that none of these apply to you. But if they do, please select the one that comes closest to what you are doing professionally. So if you don't find yourself in any of these categories, the problem is GoToWebinar does not let me give more than 5 answers. An option would be just to type in the question panel what applies most to you and what your background is. So I can see I have a question here from Lucia who would like to give a different answer. So just type in the question panel what your background would be if you would like to share, so we get a better overview. But otherwise, I will now close the poll. And let's look at the results. So Lea, I think you can see the results, and everyone can see the results.
Yeah, I cannot see them, but
okay, well, I guess
everyone else can.
I think everyone else can. I will read them out.
Yeah.
So we have 20% of the audience that is part of Eccentric, then 60% that works for municipality and the city administration, and then another 20% working with schools. And then we also have audience members working in research that was not represented here in this poll. So, okay.
Okay, cool. Then, I start with the presentation. So I will give you some insights on the structure and the content of the lessons we did with elderly people and pupils. And I will tell you how to build your own old age simulation suit if you want to. Yeah, I can share some experiences, what is important when it comes to approaching schools, how to get elderly people to participate in intergenerational projects, and yeah, why intergenerational exchange is a great chance, especially for educational projects. And to sum up this measure, yeah, it's about schoolboys and girls that teach senior citizens how to use digital devices such as the internet or the smartphone for organizing their daily mobility. Okay, I will quickly do this. Yeah, so the aim was to raise awareness and show ways to make planning and handling of public transport easier for both target groups And we actually also wanted the senior citizens to shift from the car to sustainable means of transport. And of course, we wanted to promote intergenerational exchange and create a room where this is possible. And of course, we wanted both generations to experience joy when connecting. Yeah, so I'm coming to the setup. So far, we had 15 implementations in all kinds of schools, even if in a class with mostly foreign teenagers that didn't speak German fluently, but that also worked very well. And we were also in schools where many socially deprived people live in the area. And I can only recommend to also go to such places or go to classes that have foreign teenagers in it. So yeah, that was a really good, was really good connection also between the participants. So usually we do the project in class 9. In Germany, we have 4 years in primary school, and then it would be the 5th year in secondary school. Yeah, so we call it class 9. And the teenagers are between 14 and 17 years old. And yeah, the senior citizens, they can use their own devices. So many of them brought their laptops, their tablets, smartphones, but we also have computers in school, and they can just choose whatever they want to use. It's also interesting, in the last 2 years it changed, because in the beginning almost everyone worked on the computers, and now more and more elderly people have their own smartphones. Yeah, so usually we are in 2 computer rooms. It's important that we have enough space, so we use 2 rooms. And I usually also bring a wireless LAN router, because the school internet is not always working very well and not open to everyone. So here you can see the concept of transfer. We have 5 sessions with 90 minutes in total. In the beginning, we had 8 sessions, what you can see here with the different topics. But yeah, we realized that's too much, and now we combine some sessions into one. Yeah, in the first 2 workshops, only the pupils participate. You can see it here on the left side. And in the next 3 workshops, the pupils then assume the role of the teachers, and they work together in pairs with the elderly participants. Yeah, so here you can see some photos from the first 2 sessions with only the pupils. Usually I do a little PowerPoint presentation about the background, about connection of cars to climate change, and why it is important to switch to alternative environmental friendly modes of transport. And yeah, we watch a little video about climate change, and then we come to needs and limitations of older people, and we have a discussion in class. I ask questions, for example, how often are you in contact with old people? And many of the pupils actually never talk to older people. Yeah, so, oh, sorry, I forgot that. Yeah, so we use a old age simulation suit to deepen the understanding of how old people sometimes feel. And there are different components, which I will explain you now. So we have some goggles to simulate poor vision. We have ear defenders to cause hearing loss. We have a 10-kilo vest, which is really heavy, and some weights on ankles and wrists. Also some knee and elbow splints, so that the person cannot bend their knees and elbows anymore. And you can buy this, it's called GERD. This is a short abbreviation of gerontologic simulator. You can buy the GERD in the internet for over 1,000 euros, but we just bought all the components by ourselves, and then it's around 300 to 400 euros. Yeah, so in the class, I usually ask one volunteer and we show how GERD works. And then 2 to 3 pupils go down the corridor or go into the hall of the school and try the suit on. And they can do little exercises, for example, go up and down stairs, lie down, get up. Before we saw some push-ups. Yeah, they can step onto a chair, and this is usually really funny. So it's a highlight for the pupils. And yeah, they just love to try on this suit. And it's a really good starting point into the project. And afterwards, we have some questions about it. How did you feel? What consequences do you see for older people when they use public transport? And while a couple of pupils try this on, the other ones start in pairs to work on the computers and their smartphones. And we have prepared worksheets for them, so they just go through the content in their own pace, and after that they do a role play. So one pupil poses as an elderly person and the other one explains the contents as simple as possible. And then they swap roles and think about questions older people might ask. Okay, I go back to the overview. So now we are here at the sessions with the elderly persons. So in the first session, when the elderly participants come, I meet them at the school entrance around 15 minutes before and give a short introduction, tell a little bit what awaits them. And I can say it's good to be there early because many of them come sometimes 45 minutes earlier because they are afraid to be late. And they also have a lot of questions usually in the beginning. Yeah, and then we go to the classroom and we build pairs. So one senior gets 1 or 2 teenagers on their side. And I think it's important that it's only 1 or 2 teenagers, because otherwise, if there are too many, they get bored and they lose interest. And then the pairs work independently. So first of all, the pupils find out what previous knowledge their older partners have. They ask, for example, if they know how to start the internet, if they are using a smartphone. They explain how to use a Google browser or how to enter a web address. And of course, they just ask personal questions and they get to know each other. Yeah, and then they start with the worksheets. I can show you the worksheets afterwards, and I will tell you some of the contents later. And in between, often questions arise like how to write an email, how to save documents, how to download an app. And of course, we allow time for questions like that. Yeah, I think it's really important. And yeah, maybe a fun fact, an older lady once wanted to know where to buy a car. and another lady wanted to know where she can book a flight. And apparently these two ladies didn't really understand that the topic was sustainable mobility, which was yeah, quite funny. And yeah, I would say the guidance by the worksheets is really important because the pairs sometimes lose focus, but they are also free in their decisions what to work on and what devices they want to use. And we let the pupils decide and guide because it highlights really their responsibility. And yeah, for me, it's always very relaxing because I just walk around and yeah, talk to pairs from time to time, but most of the time I just can observe and yeah, smile a lot of times. So here you can see some examples from the worksheets. Yeah, which content should be delivered in the worksheets? So yeah, maybe for you, the worksheets for the teenagers and the elderly people have the same design and content, but they have different exercises. So every worksheet includes exercises for the senior citizens, and they also have additional software knowledge. For example, how to do a screenshot, how to set a bookmark, and it also contains a dictionary with important words like browser, smartphone, application, things like that. And I find it very important that this guide is very detailed. And for the elderly people, the type font has to be very big, and we included many screenshots and step-by-step instructions so that the senior participants can repeat the steps at home without help. So yeah, here you can see an electronic timetable and setting from a homepage from the operator in Munich, which is pretty good. You can just enter the start and ending point here, and then you can see what the quickest route is. Then here's another example. If you can see if all the escalators and lifts are working. And as I said before, we include some tutorials on basic functions. We also here included some red arrows so that the participants know where to click. And yeah, of course, there are two devices, so computers or smartphones, and both of the tutorials are in the worksheets. So yeah, the seniors can just decide which device they want to use. So this was local public transport, and we have another topic in the last session, the long distance journeys, where they can just see how they buy a ticket online for the train and where they can do some trips around Munich. Yeah, what is also very nice is that some of the pupils prepared some extra programs. So sometimes they bake cakes, or they prepare coffee for the breaks, or some did some yeah, little games to just get up and do some movements with the older participants, which was really nice. And in the end, the pupils get a certificate, so they can use it for their application, and it just shows that they took part in a social and environmental project and gained soft skills. Yeah, so an important question is how to reach schools. In the beginning, we ask ourselves where to get all the teenagers that want to work with us. And cooperating with schools has many advantages. Yeah, one important point is the availability of 20 to 30 school children. And this is way easier than to find enough motivated teenagers to participate outside. And through working with schools, it's assured that everyone is always present. And yeah, because boys and girls are obliged to take part in the workshops, but yeah, almost always they just find it a very nice change to the normal lessons. So they are really happy that they have a project with older people. And in the beginning, it has been quite challenging. It has been quite challenging to engage with schools. And I think the reason was probably that the project consisted of 8 double lessons, which is sometimes not very practical for the schools because the lessons go beyond the curriculum and it's just a lot of time. And that is also one reason why we changed it to 5 lessons, which is much more suitable for that. For advertisement, we also informed the school distributor, and this is in Munich. You can, if you are in the school distributor, every school gets an email about the newest educational projects. And because of that, some schools answered and wanted to take part. And we also wrote some emails to headmasters. And after some implementations, also some teachers talked to their colleagues and told them about the project. And then we got some other replies from the colleagues. And now it's really cool because we don't have to do any advertisement anymore because we have a waiting list and teachers want to establish this project yearly. So I have way too many teachers and schools who would like to have the project, but do not have the capacity to go to everyone. So yeah, I can recommend it. Just takes a little bit of time. And yeah, another.
Lea, could you come to an end within the next 2 to 5 minutes? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Just with a view to the time. Thanks.
Of course. How to reach elderly participants. So the highest response resulted when we published the project in the local press, and we got many calls by interested seniors. But you also have to keep in mind that the press does not always use your informations, and sometimes they, one time they brought an article about a free workshop for senior citizens to learn how to use the smartphone. And after that, we got around 300 calls. So you can see the demand is very high. And I mentioned this because integrating the general internet functions in the workshops could help to reach more people. Another possibility is to search for elderly support centers or just talk to elderly participants if they have friends and they want to come. Okay, so just quickly to drivers and barriers. So drivers are, for example, the intergenerational exchange, and both groups learn a lot. The pupils improve their social skills and learn explaining complex issues in a simple way, and they get empathy for vulnerable groups. And yeah, barriers, as I said before, approaching schools because of the strict curriculum. The press is not always reliable for the advertisement, and the management of the registration is sometimes very time-consuming. And of course, you have to plan with alternatives because elderly people often get ill or they forget that they have a date. Yeah, so here you can see a picture. Usually it's in this way that older people explain stuff to younger people, but in this case it's looking like this. And I really like this photo because this was our oldest participant, and he was 95 and he came with his own smartphone and was just so happy and fit, and it's always very enlightening to just see how these pairs work together. Yeah, and for replication, we can maybe talk about that later in this discussion. Yeah, it's sorry. It's possible to replicate it to other age groups, other topics. Yeah, and the costs are pretty low, except the personal costs. And if you print the worksheets and buy this old simulation suit, you have little costs. Okay, so then I would end with my presentation, and I'm happy to answer some questions or yeah, discuss some topics with you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Lea, so much for this really good and detailed insight in how you've set up this activity, which I think is just such a great and straightforward way to reach both young people and elderly people, raise awareness about sustainability, and at the same time just do a great social activity for all of them. I would like to open the floor for questions to Lea. We have time to take 1 or 2 questions or comments about the activities that you've done. So yeah, everyone, if you have a question, please type it now or raise your hand, and then you can ask the question also in person.
Yeah, and if someone is interested, I can also offer telephone calls or a second meeting where we can discuss points a little bit more detailed if someone is interested.
I think Pilar has a question. Go ahead, Pilar. You have the floor.
I like a lot that measure from Lea Wiser, and I would like to replicate the measure. It's very good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about that definitely.
Yeah.
And also what Lea just mentioned, the option for phone calls afterwards. If you are interested in this, you can either just copy Lea's email address from the presentation, or you can leave us your email address, and then I will make sure to put you in contact with Lea so you can have some one-on-one conversation as well. Yeah, I think, Lea, I have a question. I am just curious, what was the reaction in general from the elderly to the workshop and from the students? What were some good experiences, and maybe what were some also difficult experiences that you had? I can't hear you right now.
Microphone.
Oh, somehow your audio is dying. I don't know why. Maybe it's due to your internet connection. You're not muted, so it should be okay. But let's see. Maybe if you unplug your microphone, or
now?
Yeah, now it's working.
Yes, now.
Well, for the elderly people, usually it's the highlight of their week. So they are so happy to take part and just talk to younger people, and also the pupils. afterwards they always say this was so much fun and they learned a lot and they really enjoy to listen to stories from their older partners. So yeah, usually it's very, very enlightening and we get a lot of good feedback. Well, sometimes it's a bit difficult in a few cases when elderly people expect something else because they don't really get that it's about sustainable mobility, and then they sometimes are a bit unsatisfied. But yeah, we also have parts where they can learn basic functions, and then it's okay. And once or twice we had some elderly people that have never worked with computers and couldn't handle a mouse, and then it was very difficult for the pupils to explain something to them. And then I always had a little bit, but it was just that these were not not good participants for this workshop then. But we also did an evaluation, and yeah, we got a lot of great feedback out of that from both groups.
That's great. So all around, just positive. Everyone take away from this, go ahead and run with it and do your own project like that in your own cities. That's nice to hear. Okay, so at the moment there's no further questions, but wait, we have a question. We have a comment from Lucia. She's just saying, excellent scheme. I like it very much, and she would be interested if you observed why the benefits of intergenerational interactions. But Lucia also said, you just answered her question basically. And this is also to say at the end of the webinar, there will be a bit more time for questions. You don't need to wait. You can just type them in right now. If you have them now, I will keep an eye on the questions and make sure that we raise them throughout the rest of the webinar. But now I would give the word to Pilar from Madrid to introduce the project, your project that you've done based on intergenerational activities and sustainable mobility.
Okay. I am Pilar Martin. I'm working for the City Council of Madrid, and we have been doing a project about mobility for 10 years. But I think the most successful is Eccentric. We can share the screen with the presentation.
Yeah, you should be able to share the screen now.
I need the workshop from Lea Wiser in order to improve my technological skills. I can't find the shading.
It's okay.
Can you help me?
I can help you. Wait, I will make you presenter once again.
You have my presentation. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
No, wait.
I'm very old.
Okay.
That's the problem.
No need to apologize. So do you see your presentation now?
Yes.
Perfect. Just tell me when to move on.
I'm going to the point. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, we will speak about the benefits of intergenerational projects. In the past, when families were extended, not so nuclear as they are today, grandchildren and grandparents live together, and this coexistence provides them for the elderly with energy, helping to be updated, and grandchildren were provided with reflection and a sense of reality. Today, this fundamental coexistence that permits the transmission of culture has been lost. Young people coexist only with the very busy parents and the few siblings they have. The elderly generally in Madrid move from living with a spouse to being on their own, and then finally they go to nursing homes. Can you pass the presentation, the slides?
There's always a little bit of delay. Yeah, I've passed the slides. It always takes a second.
Okay. Then the intergenerational project that's very good for both parties. They serve as a setting that recovers the old relationship of the extended family. The early come into contact with the energy and excitement that young people put into things, with their new communication technologies, with the language they use, with their new problems. And for, you can pass the slides, and for the youngs is also very good because the elder are providing a reflection, realism, calm, the sense of discriminating between anecdotal and important things. For us, intergenerational activities are really a school of life, where both groups have the possibility to put themselves in another person's shoes, and also share interests and feeling and a feeling of inclusion, and both groups feel they are part of a positive continuity over time, and also they feel their work is valued. Then is important for both of them. As a sustainable mobility, most of our grandparents from Vallecas Living Lab, that is a neighborhood of Madrid, did not have a car until they were 40 or 50 years old. For this reason, they are great advocates of public transport and active modes. They are also defenders of the importance of public space because Vallecas provide them with services like pavement, electricity, water, and so on, in response to the claims that they themselves made in the 60s and 70s of the previous century. Then we were working with people very revolutionary at that moment, and they were the same people. They are quite aware of public problems that make walking difficult for pedestrians, and for this reason, they were able to generate ideas for the script of the videos about itineraries on foot or by bus. You can pass the slides, please. On the other hand, the young contributed their technical knowledge and ideas to help spread the message. They are unaware of everything that is public, but know how to manage video technologies and how to handle the publicist humor, and how to focus the message and deal with social networks. The experience of making the videos and participating in the preliminary workshop enrich both groups. Then you can pass the slides. You can pass the slides. Thank you. No, thank you. We first worked with them separately. There were several sessions in primary and secondary schools and several sessions in the elderly social centers. We wanted to know what makes so many older people stay home prematurely. So we carried out diagnostic itineraries with several groups whose average was 76 years of age. The elderly point out all the reasons why it was difficult for them to walk on the street. Bikes and motorcycles on the sidewalks, lack of zebra crossing, too steep ramps, lack of proper benches, traffic light does not allow pedestrians enough time to cross the street, dirt on the sidewalks, inaccessible areas, pavement in poor condition, sidewalks that aren't wide enough for a wheelchair, etc. And when traveling by bus, they complained that sometimes they were not given seats reserved for them. And they also mentioned difficulties when sharing buses with young students. After we consolidate the working groups and the goals were well defined, the elders themselves, some of whom belong to a theater group, that is important, launch the idea of collaborating with the students. And we can see, we have the time to see a video or no? Better no.
Yeah, I can show it. Let's look at the video.
Yes, yes. No, I prefer to show another.
A different one, okay.
Go ahead, yes, yes, the
Okay,
other one.
then let's continue.
Yes, we passed the slide,
Yeah.
and we can see also they were making campaigns with primary school, with the students from primary school. The idea to do videos was well received by high school students, and not only for secondary school students, but primary also, that carried with them a campaign picking up the pop of the dogs, and that was funny for all of them. We can see after the links with all the subjects about the campaign, and we pass the slide. That is the first slide. Yes, the next that. They make also videos not only about the pedestrian mode of the problems. All the videos are the diagnostic, but in a humorous way. We can see one of them because they change role also. Sometimes the young people complain about the elders are all in the door of the bus, and they can go through them to go out the bus, and all the problems, but in a humorous way. We are seeing that, for example, one video of that about the bus.
Should I show the video?
Yeah, please show the video. You can go to the link, and there are several videos, but we can see one that is very short.
This one? Or
that one, the first, yes. For example, yes, for one example. Only to see in what way they collaborate.
We can't hear the sound, unfortunately.
It's not in English, but
it's understood without words, I think.
You can't show?
Can you see it or no?
But not the video, only pictures, fixed pictures.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Is this better? Can you just confirm if you see the video?
No, we are not seeing the video, only pictures about the video.
Huh. Okay. I'm showing the video, so I think maybe it's not working. I'm sorry for that.
We can see the video, but the audio is not working.
Okay. Sorry, then I will go back to the video. Here we go. So you did see it. Yeah, the audio is not working. You should click on it.
If it's possible, look around.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I will go back to the presentation.
Okay. Okay, you can pass the slides. Okay. How to bring together schools, teenagers, and the elderly. Simultaneously, the elder create a Walk with Us club that meets to walk around the Vallecas district twice a week. This club has been quite welcome because they used to feel lonely and now they are sharing time with a group of friends. Now the group has 19 people. 90 people. Together with some young people, they designed their own t-shirts and sweaters with slogans such as my engine, my feet, my antidepressant, walking with my friends. The club is reinforcing social relationship and gives them a feeling of affinity and belonging. Also, they participate together, young and elderly, in the National Congress of Environment, talking about eccentric, and also during Mobility Week, where they presented their videos at a cultural center. They made a great job of diffusion. You can pass you have all the links in order you would like to know more. You can pass the slides, please. Also, they appeared on radio and newspaper with the youngster describing the eccentric project. You can see here the cultural center, a lot of people, maybe 200 elder people. Also the newspaper, the radio, speaking about the benefits of the active modes, the necessity of improving the public space to walking better and to go by bike better, because Madrid has very few bike lanes. You can pass also the slides. You can pass the slides, please. Thank you. You can see here the workshop, the meeting with the mayor, the former mayor of Madrid City Council, the meeting in European Mobility Week, elders and primary and secondary schools students. They made a lot of activities together. You can pass, please, the slides.
Yes, I passed the slide. Just wait 1 minute.
Yes. Also, they share exhibition. We made 3 exhibitions about mobility that was a very artistic exhibition with well-known people that is photographic artistic, and the exhibition has a lot of activities and dynamics to share the knowledge between elders and young people. You can change the slides, please. And finally, they won the Move Green, which is the most prestigious mobility award in Madrid. There are 6 kinds of work, and they obtain the social work for that intergenerational work. In addition, quantitative data were very good. The population over 65 in Vallecas district, that was the venue of the Living Lab, went from 66% walking trips in 2017 to 75 in 2019, in only 2 years. That is very successful. Very people encouraged to walk more and more. Maybe the club was working and a lot of people is going, even if not is of the club, but they are going together also. And for the children also, we have good results. The motorized trips from home to school decreased 4 points. Then walking and cycling increase 4 points. Active modes, bicycle, we have to say only from 1% to 2%, but is the devil, but it's very few. I think Madrid has not good condition to for safety. Then bicycle is more of them were from bikes to walking. About how to adapt Madrid program, I really think it's easy. The figure of grandparents is very important. Generally, grandparents live in the same neighborhood in Madrid, although not in the same house, and they spend a lot of hours with their grandchildren, and in many cases they are replacing the childcare. They also help the family in times of economic crisis. We believe that is one of the factors why it is not very difficult to bring both groups together to work, especially when the methodology involves a playful or artistic component, such as theater, design, or videos. This methodology of designing campaigns to change habits among equals has been used in many different fields: sustainable food, bullying. Why not also use it in mobility? And why not use it to band together groups of elders and youth? Aren't they both the most vulnerable and these included groups in society? We think they are the people that feel alone. For the drivers and barriers, I think drivers is one participation. The project can be presented as a citizen participation activity in which groups of older and young people can design an action plan and organize the campaigns, as well as choose the media in which they wish to appear. And the important thing is to have a great coordinator is with a lot of experience and in both groups, in young and in all groups, and a coordinator who knows how to energize often the activities and sorting out the problems that may arise during session and workshop. And for the barriers, time for the teenagers is terrible. The main barrier to getting both groups together is the fact that the young people are busy in the afternoon doing extracurricular activities. Only those who are very interested in mobility, organizing campaigns, communication, theater, will join these activities. It is easier to bring together the elderly with primary school children, because the campaign, yes, I pick up, is carried out with the teachers and during school hours. Even the diagnostic itineraries are carried out during school hours with one teacher, 30 children and 20 elderly people from the neighborhood. Then it's easier work with primary than with secondary. Another thing, another barrier is the type of school. Not all schools are willing to carry out this type of activities. Schools with a high rate of vulnerable children, immigrant children, for example, are the ones that encourage this type of activity because they feel included, which is for them an essential goal. In these schools, we have done all kinds of intergenerational activities, not only about mobility. Sustainable menus, tree planting, workshop on neighborhood history, a lot of things with them. Then in the next slide, you have some links to see what the campaigns were about, and I think I don't have any more to say. Unfortunately, we can't see the video that was funny.
Yeah, the video, I think you could see the video, but it was the images were a bit staggered, so it was just quite interrupted. But I've already gotten a question also from the audience to share the links, and I will I will do that afterwards so everyone can have a look. I can highly recommend the videos, also the audio behind it. They're really funny. So I will share that after.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks,
If you
Pilar.
have any question.
Yeah, please, let's open the floor for questions. Type in your questions or raise your hands if you have a question. And Pilar, thank you so much for introducing not just one measure, but really a variety of activities that you have done involving elderly and also school children. I have a question that is a bit similar to what Lea already presented, which is how did you approach the elderly and motivate them to join your activities?
Excuse me?
How did you approach the elderly? How did you motivate them to join your activities?
It wasn't difficult. We started working with the elderly in a social center in Vallecas Villa, and they were enthusiastic of the project because there are so many difficulties in that neighborhood to walk properly, and it's very difficult to move as pedestrian in that neighborhood. And then we're enthusiastic with the project, even if the project don't change so much the real infrastructure, but some things has been done, has been made. The refurbishment of some squares, some traffic lights, some zebra crossing. Some things has been done, and for them the most useful thing was to create the club and to make the videos with the teenagers. That's for them was very good. And about the schools, we have a program that is about environment education, but there are 5 modules. It's about all the things: energy, public space, mobility, consumerism, all the things. We had 112 schools working with us. Then we haven't never worked in Vallecas, but after Eccentric, we find 7 schools to work with us, and 3 for primary, and 4 of secondary schools, and 7 in the whole. And they were also, because they wanted more bike lanes and more public space for the children. Then they were very enthusiastic also with the project. I think the project has been working pretty well in Vallecas. Yeah.
And so, and the children, what was their feedback? How did they like the different projects?
What? Excuse me, I can't hear you there.
Sorry, the children, I'm asking, how did they like the project? How, what was their feedback of the school children?
The school children in primary school, it's easier to work with them because we work in the class hour. Then they are in the school, they are escorted by a teacher, and all the activities you want to do, they are enthusiastic, because there are schools that Vallecas is a neighborhood pretty poor, and with a lot of immigrants, and with a lot of problems. And then that kind of school are for sure are enthusiastic if you propose them some project that will include them in society. Then working with the grandparents that are very Vallecanos, very people from the real Madrid, and with the son and daughter of the immigrants is very good for them, because they know more about the city, about the past, about the history of the neighborhood, and it was a workshop that we made about the history of Vallecas with children from the immigrants and elders. Was very, very interesting. Not only about mobility, about social quality of life.
Great. Thanks. Wonderful. Really, really interesting. And also, I think I should say Vallecas is, you've mentioned this, but just to make clear, is the living lab in Eccentric. So that's where you've carried out many of the different eccentric measures. And it's interesting to hear from you what kind of district Vallecas is.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
I have the impression that there's not so many questions from the audience, as far as I can see. Anyway, before I conclude, I want to just give everyone the chance again, if you have a question or comment about the presentations, please type in your questions or comments. Otherwise, you also have the option to get either in contact with me or Lea directly to have more detailed conversations about how to set up a project like has been described today. And I would also like to let you know that in Eccentric, we're developing so-called replication packages, which are more detailed descriptions of how these measures have been carried out and implemented. And the replication packages will be publicly available. You can find them once they're ready on the Eccentric website, and we will also share them via the channels that you have now also found out about this webinar. So you will have a more detailed description then. Yeah, so thanks so much for this. Thanks for everyone who enjoyed this webinar. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. I hope you enjoy the great weather that most of you seem to have. And maybe if you're going on a holiday later this year, also enjoy that. I will make sure to share the presentations, also share the links to the videos. And thank you so much, Pilar and Lea, for being here today. It was a great pleasure, really interesting. And yeah. With that, I'm going to say goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye. Goodbye.